Being a parent is hard. That's all there is to it. Nothing fancy. No special explanations. No deep interpretation of what it is I mean. Just being a parent is hard. But being a parent is also fulfilling. We all have our moments where we feel like we have failed, or those moments that push us to the absolute edge, where we start questioning ourselves, and we question what it is we're doing, where we went wrong, what we need to do to change. And it's just not that simple. It is what it is sometimes. I think we all put too much pressure on ourselves. We put too much pressure on ourselves to be the perfect parents. And it's really, really hard. Our kids will test us. They will drive us to the edge, where we think that we're going to let our kids down and we're going to fail. And then, just when you're teetering over that edge, they do something that reminds you that maybe you're not screwing it all up. That maybe they're grasping something and they're understanding something that you've been trying to drill into their heads. We all have our moments, right? I guess the point of this small aside is that we're not alone. We're not the only parents that feel this way. It's not just you. It's not just me. It's not just my wife. It happens to all of us. I really don't think that there is any perfect parent out there. I don't. We all have things that work for us. We all have things that don't work for us. And to try to judge ourselves based on those things, comparing ourselves to one another, I think is a little out of line. Because what works for me may not work for you. My kids are not the best listeners. And I know I'm not the only parent that feels this way. Or the only parent that deals with this kind of nonsense. Like, they don't listen. And at times it feels like you're drilling the same thing into their head over and over and over again. And they don't care. It's they don't care, or they don't grasp it. Like, for me, time and time again, I'll try to get the kids to do something. I'll tell them to do something. My wife will tell them to do something. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. And it gets to the point where you need them to hear you. So you yell. And the funniest part about that is when you finally do crack and you yell, it's either the waterworks start coming, or the kids say something stupid like, "You're always yelling at me." Well, come on. You didn't hear the first 5 times I told you to do the thing? You didn't hear that? You're kidding me. But you hear me now, right? Okay, so while I may need to yell, you might not. Your kids might hear you. You might put your kids in timeout, and that corrects their behavior. If I put my kids in timeout, nothing happens. They don't learn. It doesn't sink in. They're not threatened by timeout. For me, one thing that works is taking away gaming systems, tablets, electronics. Well, that's a whole other tangent I can get into right there. And maybe we'll come back to that. But for someone else, maybe they need to spank their kid in order to get a message across. That's a bad stigma nowadays. You can't spank your kids. It's considered child abuse. Man, I hate that. Because there's a big difference between spanking your child and beating your child. Spanking your child is discipline. Open palm, bare ass, or hands on, whatever the hell. Completely different than beating your child. And the fact that anybody has a problem with that is ridiculous. But that goes into what works for you may not work for me. What works for me may not work for you. Now let's get back into the electronics. It's so crazy trying to parent nowadays with all the electronics going on. Like when I was a kid, I had a Game Boy. I had my Nintendo systems and stuff like that. And I loved video games. However, and I talk to my friends about this all the time, I did not spend all of my time on that stuff. I didn't. Maybe in the morning before anyone was awake, in the evening before bed, or when it was raining out. But I still spent a lot of time outside. Nowadays, it seems like kids don't want to do that. They're too addicted to technology, to electronics. And I never thought I'd be one of these adults who wants to blame video games for child behavior. I never thought I would be the type of parent that did that. But it really is true. Like, we've taken away my kid's Nintendo Switch before. Every time we've taken it away, their behavior improves tenfold. It's absolutely insane. They're more polite. They're more helpful. They're more creative. They go outside more. Then you give it back, and it's right back to their old ways. You try to limit the amount of time that they're on there, and they give you grief about it. It's not fair. I don't want to. I'm in a match. One more game. I can't save yet. Every excuse in the book. Anything to try to keep on going. And then when you try to be the nice guy about it and give them an extra minute to finish up what they're doing, and you walk away, you come back 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, they're still on. It's just wild to me. So, for me, electronics, pulling that away is huge. And I think back to when I was a kid, when we had a lot less electronics to distract us. When we were bored, that's when we really got creative. When we were bored, that's when we discovered the things that we really loved. Sports, for me, when I was a kid. Absolutely loved sports. I could go outside and I could play basketball by myself. You ever done that? You ever go outside and play basketball and you're making up a game situation? You got 15 seconds left on the clock. You got to score 3 shots to win the game. You're counting down in your head as you're dribbling around, taking your shots. Yeah, I don't know if my kid can do that right now. So I want to try to aid in that. And it's not easy. It's not easy to do. I think parenting today is so difficult compared to years past because there are way more distractions. between electronics and everything else. There's just so many more distractions. So many different things to fight with. So if you're one of those parents who's out there thinking that maybe you don't have your shit together, just know that you're not alone in that feeling. You're not the only parent out there that thinks that. It's hard. Parenting's a struggle. But we're all in this together, man. We do anything we can to ensure that our kids grow up happy and to ensure that they have the necessary skills to be able to succeed in life and to be able to enjoy their life. You want to pass on the right lessons. Make sure the right things stick in their mind. So that one day in the future, when they come across a decision that they need to make, whether they go left or whether they go right, they can think back on a lesson that we taught them and hopefully make the right decision. Because that's really our only job here. Our job is to guide them. Well, that's my little tangent about parenting. Unplanned. Unpracticed. I hope I didn't ramble too much or go in an incorrect direction. But we'll save it for a rainy day. If I ever need to drop something on you guys real quick. It's something that's easy to talk about for me because being a parent, I am one of those people who I just often feel like I'm failing, man. I really do. And then, like I said earlier, one of my kids does something that just pulls me back from the edge and makes me think, you know what, maybe I am getting through to them. So hang in there, guys. It's definitely tough being a parent. But if you have any questions, any concerns, any helpful tips, make sure to hit up the Nonsense and Deep Thoughts podcast, Facebook page, YouTube page, Instagram page with any of that information. And if you'd like to be a guest on our show, join Justin and I for a conversation of any type. We are trying to grab people from all walks of life, bring you guys in here, have a chat with y'all, and get some fun stories. Have a good time. Thank y'all for listening if you're still here, and enjoy the rest of your day.